quick here. What's up, guys? Those who are waiting in the waiting room. We will be discussing Shang-Chi. Full spoilers, please. Full warning. If you didn't see the thumbnail or the title with the full capital word spoiler in it, now's your third warning. We are going to talk about Shang-Chi. Full spoilers. We're really looking forward to this conversation. Johnny is here from All the Nerds, and so is Levi. Johnny just got off the floor at Fan Expo Boston. Let's go live, man. Let's go live.
Give me 1 second.
Yes.
Great time to.
Yay. Lavelle is here. Shamir is here.
Oh,
Nope,
we're on.
Brent,
We're on.
Brent
I gotta.
is here. Yes, we're on. I'm sorry.
We're on. Whoa.
Whoa.
It's been a moment since we started one without Jenny.
Yeah, no, okay, so Jenny is currently finishing up Shang-Chi, so she should be. The timing should work out so that she'll be on like in the next couple minutes, I would hope.
Okay.
But looking forward
Gotta watch
to
those
this
post
conversation.
Gotta
yes,
watch.
I think here's Jenny. Is this Jenny?
It is Jenny.
Yes, Jenny's here. We can start. Did you actually get a chance to watch, Jenny? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, hun.
Are we live?
We are live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just finished, literally just watched like the end credit scene as I was opening the Zoom. I was doing like 3 things at once with my computer. Yeah.
What's up, Shamir? Hi, Jenny. Brent is
Hi,
here.
everybody. I see
Lavelle's
Brent.
here. Guys, I'm so
Lavelle,
excited that we actually have an
Shamir.
opportunity to talk about this because the last couple weeks it's been like, oh, I wish I could do a reaction.
Yeah.
And it was fun being able to do a reaction for Black Widow, but Shang-Chi is just going to have to settle for the spoiler review. And I really still wish it could have been a reaction because holy crap.
I am
love
currently
this movie.
exporting a little edited review of our own right now.
Oh,
so
nice. Cool. Okay.
I'm gonna plug, but if you guys want to check that out after the stream, you guys.
Those were our immediate reactions. We just saw the movie, we got out of it, and recorded that.
Is Dylan usually the video editor on the All New Nerd Squad?
It's him and I
Yes.
do a lot.
I know because Johnny, you're a filmmaker in general, right? So you're just you got all the skills.
I just talk.
I'm
I'm the idea. I'm the idea man.
It's like I just talk.
Yeah, Levi just.
I come up with good ideas. They
Yeah.
execute on the ideas.
You're okay.
Levi is our you're the dictionary, the thesaurus. We're just like we need. To
I thought you were
references.
drinking a ketchup bottle for a second, Levi.
No, it's just honey Dijon.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, guys! Okay, so Shang-Chi. Let's you want to dive right in, or do we want to
dive in?
Dive
off-
in. Do it. Dive in.
Oh wait though, Jenny, did you watch both post-credit scenes?
Of course I did.
Okay. Because there was a lot of people who got up and left in my theater after that first one. I went.
Yeah,
"These
you know,
fools."
the copy that I watched
mistake.
obviously was like a janky pirated like cell phone video, and somebody had put French subtitles on it, which
Jenny.
luckily I am completely fluent in French, and so I could like read
Jenny's
French
not serious, everybody.
during
That's
all the
just-
Mandarin,
ignore
but
what
that
you
was
just
like
said.
Perfect.
the copy I found, but it cut off the video right at the beginning, so I had to like run to YouTube and find somebody else's janky cell phone videos of the credit sequences.
Okay, so wait a minute. The subtitles were in French. Does that mean you were able to read them because you can read French?
Yeah, no, I completely get, because a large chunk of the movie's in Mandarin. So yeah, no, luckily I was like, well, this one has
know
subtitles
Mandarin?
I can read. No, I know
no.
French.
They were French.
Oh, I know. I didn't know if she meant
Her
before the- I didn't know
janky
if you
pirated
meant-
copy had
More than
French
one.
subtitles.
Luckily,
Yeah, no,
there were
that's-
janky French subtitles on my janky pirated
I have
copy that I watched.
I saw it with some of my roommates, and they're actually from some of them are from Hong Kong or China, and they were like, some of the translation is a little bit off, but it was okay. Thought that was kind of fun.
Y'all had very different viewing experiences.
Yeah, I had a.
It sounds like Jenny was
had a,
watching through binoculars. Like, what is that? Is that subtitles there? French? I can read French. I love that.
like, how was your theater experience?
I didn't go out.
You didn't go
I
to
did the
the-
same. Well, I found alternate
Same
methods.
way. Yeah. Okay.
But no, but like that didn't stop me from full on enjoying this movie, 100%. And
Good.
it's
Great.
actually I kind of thought that sometimes like if you're watching like a non-HD like pirated copy, like sometimes it allows you to appreciate like the CGI doesn't like it's not so in your face that it's distracting in any way. You can kind of focus more on like the underlying things. And like one of the things I noticed most about this movie that was like the most appealing was not just the fight choreography, but like the synergy between the fight choreography and the cinematography.
It was shot so well.
Yeah, the way that like the camera
Oh,
angles would
most of it.
shift like in a way that would like allow that the lines of action in their poses when they were fighting to like
And there wasn't.
fully read and like
Yeah.
and it's
there
funny
wasn't-
because
and there wasn't,
Jenny
like,
and I
quick
have
cut,
been
quick
pointing
cut,
out
quick
about
cut.
how What If is doing this a lot, where they're like individual frames where it's like, oh, that's like an image, that's like
Oh,
a
I didn't talk about
comic
What
book
If
frame.
either.
And this movie did a lot of that, where it was like, wow, they just
Yeah.
put like comic book frame after comic book frame, where it was like looks like somebody drew that. It
Yeah.
looks like somebody like painted the lines of action through their bodies while they were fighting, and like
Yes.
the synergy between the fight choreography and the
I especially
cinematography blew
noticed
me
that
away.
in the opening fight scene between Lee and oh, what's the dad's name?
Wenwu.
Yeah, that which was stylish as hell. That fight
It was
sequence
like
that was
Crouching
like
Tiger, Hidden Dragon was her style.
very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But I mean, it was like so beautifully choreographed. It
That's
was
awesome.
you know, it mixed the martial art with this almost balletic, like very Tai Chi sort of like the grace and that was an incredibly gorgeous like fight scene. But I really noticed that that effect you're talking about, Mike, like the freeze frames and like they would pull out just sort of one little gesture or motion that was so beautiful.
See, I need to watch this movie again. Not
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
probably
just
gonna go see
finished
it
it
again.
like 2 minutes ago, and I'm already like, I
Yeah.
gotta go watch that
Yeah.
Not
again. It
because
was so good.
I didn't enjoy it, but it's because I had an awful
Right.
theater experience.
Yeah,
I had the
Oh.
reverse. I had the reverse of Johnny. I went to the theater.
I had a really great theater experience.
And I thought I was,
I was
like-
rubbing it in his face.
I bought my ticket early. I got D7, which is the middle. Like we're in the age where you pre-buy the tickets, and I was like, if I sit in the middle, no one's gonna want to sit next to me because I'm right in the middle. No parties. But then everyone was like, I'm like, I just can't sit here
Surprise.
because I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this. Like the woman like right next to me and this guy right next to me. And I was like, nope. And so I moved and went to the back, and I was like, I just hope this is no one's seat. And it actually was. So I had to move even farther back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was like, I don't want to be by the, because that part's less significant because it also had to do with
Yes.
this woman was like laughing at like the Nuvi ads before, like the crappy like M&M's commercial. You know the
Oh,
M&M's
dear.
one that's like, this isn't a commercial, or this isn't a movie, it's a commercial, and it's been on theaters since like 2011. She was like, ah, and I was like, I can't sit here. But then I moved back, and the guy next to me was wheeling around oxygen, and he was like this old man who was like dying and just going.
He is making
the
a
whole time.
really strong case
And I
for
was
my point right now, by the way.
And
Like,
I-
he
and
was
I know,
proving my
I
point
know, and
like
I was,
five
and I
times
was like,
over.
and I was like,
I,
made a
however,
mistake.
had a fantastic time.
Don't be an
My-
ageist
my theater-
zennial, Levi.
So
now,
I
now I'm gonna go on the now I'm gonna go on the opposite and say
Yeah,
it was
I
really
sat
fun.
in the back corner, away from everybody. and I
Yeah,
was like,
you did
no.
the
I
right
got-
thing, my friend. I'm
Prime
sorry.
middle seat, row K, which is a good. I think it's a good distance away from the screen. Great theater, like was quiet, like but there was funny parts. We laughed when there were like suspenseful parts. We were like,
Mhm.
and it was great. It was like I
One gap.
haven't had that experience since like I don't know, like years ago, like 2 years
Yeah.
ago. But and then yeah, at one point the scene where Trevor Slattery is about to be revealed, someone in my theater just went like, eh! Or like
What?
like very loud, and like it was like a
I'm
Like a
convinced. I'm
bird
convinced that.
noise?
I'm convinced
I don't
that
know
the
what
Green
it was,
Goblin.
Jenny.
The Green Goblin was in both.
it
of
was
our
the Green
theaters.
Goblin.
The Green Goblin, he's everywhere. He's just crossing dimensions,
Yeah.
right?
Spider-Man.
He's actually in my he's in my theater.
Harry.
Oh God,
that's
I'm
good.
sorry.
Avenge me!
I didn't get to
Avenge
talk
me!
about I didn't get to join last week and talk with you guys about the Spidey trailer. Sorry, I missed that. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
exciting.
I'll
But
talk
though,
about that any day, Jenny.
To
I
cap off
straight
the
up
story,
screamed, like alone in my room in my house when Alfred Molina said, "Hello, Peter." I
Hello,
literally
Peter.
screamed. I screamed out loud.
Peter.
but
Hello,
but though,
Peter.
it may have been an awful theater experience, but it was still a big ass nice screen that I saw this movie on,
Big ass, nice.
and I
screen.
want
Nice.
to you know
Nice description.
go to Brent.
Big-ass,
'cause
nice
Brent was
screen.
like he had a great theater
Mm.
experience. This movie was awesome in the theater. I think it was, but honestly, because now I think we should actually start talking about the movie. I think it kind of detracted from my experience a little bit because and this is just a preference thing. I think the movie executed on what it wanted to do 100%. But for me, The big old CGI dragon fight at the end was not what I had expected, nor what I wanted. And I was
So
like,
this is what I was saying, Levi, about like there's
interesting.
something actually to be said about watching the janky copy, and that like
yeah,
the art of it all had a chance to like show through because I wasn't
Yes.
distracted by that.
It's like
You found that was a better that's interesting.
HD.
It's like
it
the
didn't go into
first-
Michael Bay territory where you're like, what am I watching?
the
Like,
first
what is it?
2/3 of this movie were like perfection for me. I was like, this is awesome. This is
Yeah, no,
great.
I-
I like the characters. The action is well choreographed. But they get to Talo, and Michelle Yeoh is like, here's this crazy exposition. And I'm like, what? And then
Yeah,
soul-eating dragons come out
okay.
of the wall. I'm like, what is happening?
I'm glad you said that because that actually was like my main quibble with this movie was that
Quibble.
the exposition scenes
Oh,
were a little too like on the nose, like straightforward. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is our
I
exhibition
really
scene, and
did
we're
not
doing
like
it just
how
to
it
get it out of the
started.
way. Yeah, and
I
it was
did
awkward
not-
the way they were telling
yeah.
their story. Like, and I get that like they even came back to it at the end, where like it was like a device to like make a joke at the end, where they're like talking
was
to their
good.
friends again. That
I actually
the way
liked
they tied
that.
it back in with made it.
But like when
better,
it's just like straight up narration, like I don't like narration in movies. I feel like it's
Yeah,
very like
and it was like, okay, we need to
I
get
like
you
it.
up to
Easy.
speed on this
Iron
as
Man
quick as
3.
we can, so we can like, and it was a little
Iron Man
too
3 is different
straightforward.
though. It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah, I actually
That-
agree with Mike said. Like, if I have to come up with a quibble, and like preface this with, I thought it was great. I'm not like
Mhm.
looking to quibble, but if I had to come up with a quibble, I felt like the sort of slow burn of the story reveal, it was a little drawn out for me because I think like because it was done not achronologically, but you know, you only got like bits of the backstory at once. Like I felt like I had kind
Yeah,
of figured
that's-
out a
I-
lot of the pieces. I had like filled
Here's
in the
my
blanks
quibble.
in my own mind
mm.
before some of those flashbacks happened, and I was like, okay, can we just like get on with the story
Stop
now?
the presses.
Right.
Johnny's
I-
got a quibble. He's got a quibble, everybody.
I found the pacing of this film. I
Yes.
really enjoyed it. It was
Yes,
actually
I'm,
very quite odd.
I'm about to agree with you. Johnny.
So fast
Pacing
paced,
issues.
super fast pace. Stop at the village. When they got to the village, slow
Mhm.
down. Woo, like
A lot.
180.
Yeah.
Slow
Totally.
down,
Yeah.
and then the third act kind of was like what is. What
I
it
would
was.
say the first half of the
I
movie
agree.
was more enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
Hard
and then,
hard
yeah.
agree. Yeah, I completely
The
agree.
pacing
but again,
got
like
way
it's,
off track in the
it's
second
picking
half.
a quibble in what was enjoyable. It was like an enjoyable cinematic experience, or in this case, cinematic experience. But like if I'm like picking at hairs, then I would say
Yeah.
that pacing issues, especially in the second half, there was
Some
sort
of the the CGI creatures were really it was interesting. I really enjoyed the fox with 9 tails. That was like a really
Yeah.
Pokemon.
The Pokemon.
I guess that is a Pokemon.
I love
but
that one scene when Trevor Slattery is like,
Vulpix?
"That's a
That's definitely one of those
weasel."
those
Yeah, yeah.
classic characters.
He's great.
though,
He's
that are,
great.
like-
in both
What
things.
did you think of Trevor Slattery?
Oh, I
I
love
thought-
that. The
Yeah,
sort of
you know what? You know what's funny about Trevor Slattery is that I felt like they were
an actor-
just
I'm an
about
actor.
to be
I'm an actor.
overcooking it a little bit, and then they didn't. So they did just enough of him because he was starting to get on my
The
nerves.
Planet of the Apes
Mm.
thing I loved so much.
The,
Yeah,
that
scene-
was
the,
funny.
the like bit where he was like, it's
The retconning of it all though was
when
good
he goes
though.
like,
and the,
it's not, I'm
fixing
not
him.
dead, it's just a performance.
I don't
Play
think it really
along.
retconned
And then
anything.
Well, I
Morris
meant,
flipped over as well.
I haven't
It was
watched
cute.
because I watched.
Levi, I
Iron
meant
Man 3.
clarifying for people that don't understand that he's not the real
Okay, yeah.
Mandarin. That,
'Cause I
wait,
watched-
thought,
I agree.
I thought Trevor Slattery was the Mandarin.
I
Yeah,
watched
that
Iron
type
Man
thing.
3 and All Hail the King,
Hail the
the
King,
one shot,
yeah.
before I watched
Yeah.
Shang-Chi to prepare, and I was like, no, it all tracks. I think it's all
Justin
good.
Hammer. What if
Justin
Justin
Yeah,
Hammer.
Hammer?
technically it
Trevor
tracks.
Slattery-
Technically it
Yeah.
tracks with the one shot. He mentioned that like he
Yeah.
was in federal penitentiary.
Yeah,
and then,
and then he gets
according to
broken
this
out,
movie, like when Wu broke him out to
which is
Yeah.
what happened in the
Yeah.
in the short. Yeah.
In the short,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
They
was, like,
didn't.
one
They
thing that-
didn't explain how Trevor Slattery ended up having like a mystical connection with the Morris creature, though. Like, how did he end up being able to communicate without
just
having?
because
like,
he
a-
was there for so
I
long.
think he was there for so long. He was there.
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
like
he was just.
I mean,
he thought he was
I talked
hallucinating.
to my
it, so
cat,
he-
and
yeah.
as silly as it sounds, like we've been together for 16
Worse.
years, and I know what she's saying.
Well, it
Talking-
just seemed more like he was able to like legitimately like telekinesis or like
talking about. You talking about Morris?
in the, like
Morris.
because like it had to be like turn
Team
hard right, and he
Morris.
had to be like
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like
I'm an actor. I'm an
I'm
actor.
an actor. Actor.
Yeah, Shamir's
So,
mentioning in the comments
man.
that the sort of
Mr.
like,
President.
all
Mr.
the cool
President.
creatures are actually figures taken from Chinese
Yep.
mythology, which I had read about.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah, like
interesting.
the Morris is actually
Hmm.
like a very central character in Chinese mythology, which I only
Hmm.
learned about because I was reading about the film. But I thought that
Yeah.
this was so great because it really was an authentic window into a non-Western culture that was contemporary and was funny, but that did have all of these things where if it's your culture, you're going to appreciate that it's been authentically presented and not sort of fetishistically presented
Yeah.
from a Western perspective.
Yeah.
It was really important that it had that authentic perspective.
So
and like
Brent-
I learned things about Chinese tradition and mythology
Right.
watching this film, which was great.
Brent had a good question, which is how much of us knew stuff about Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings and the history of this on the comics beforehand, and like if that disappointed us or if that impacted.
You know what? The only thing I knew about
That's a
the
Levi
Mandarin was
question.
from like my
I didn't
Marvel
really.
cards, where there's a card that's Doctor Strange versus the Mandarin.
Mm.
So I think it
The
might
Mandarin.
we might still see some, maybe not
The
obviously
Ma-
because the Mandarin is dead now, but like
Right. The
Shang-Chi's sister, what
Mandarin's-
Zhai is her name? What's her name?
Yep.
Chilling.
Yeah, she may end up becoming like the new Mandarin,
Just
right?
think
'Cause
Yeah,
she's-
so the
Yeah,
thing
'cause
about
she's like the head of the organization.
so we
now,
might see
right?
Doctor Strange versus her or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
The
don't know.
the Mandarin's obviously like an Iron Man villain, and like I know more about the Mandarin than I did Shang-Chi going in, and like I to be honest, like and this is the thing we brought up in our video that we're about to post, but like I didn't like the rings in the movie going in, but like
Mm.
that
They're
like at
so
the end of the movie
cool.
I was like, damn, those are pretty
The rings
sick.
are awesome.
Some of those
The rings
like,
are like the coolest thing.
the
happening to you.
weight of them, like they really got really good sound design with them, and like
I said this in a review,
so
but
good.
watching when we like beat people in the 90s with those
in the
rings,
90s flashback
I was like,
scene.
oh my god, like he's just beating people.
Ooh,
Like,
yeah, that's another complaint. There's also a little bit too many flashbacks.
oh, see, this is where I
I
disagree.
actually
Yeah.
have it's actually
Yeah.
Iron Man versus the Mandarin. now
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
think of it.
yeah. He's an Iron Man villain. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would have. I mean,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
awesome.
again like
That was a
when
dream
Johnny
thing
just
from the
said like
MCU.
there's
That's
too
why
many
people got mad at Iron
flashbacks.
Man
I
3,
would have
like-
preferred
Yeah.
like just me to have one coherent flashback sequence at
Yeah.
some point in the story that maybe abridged all the information we got a little,
Right.
like a little less drawn out,
Yeah, they
and
they
maybe like just
did,
give
like,
us that context. And
Succession. It felt like.
See,
yeah.
I liked all of the human stuff the whole time. Like Wenwu versus Shang-Chi at the end, I was all there for that. I
Yeah.
loved all that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
and having
Yeah.
the flashbacks for me kept me more grounded because
Mm.
I started to get lost in the Talos stuff and connecting it back to his mother, which I enjoyed that plot line, and then him learning from his aunt, like the style, and then connecting the beginning and the end with the way he's using his mother's fighting style in combination with the rings to
Mhm.
like, and
Mhm.
they do the same shots, and I was like, I love that. That's good. Like and then when we sacrifice himself, that's all good. But then
Yeah.
the fact that he gets killed by a huge soul-sucking dragon that's trying to destroy the universe, I was like, what? That came
Yeah,
out of
I
nowhere.
don't like big kaiju creatures usually.
And
at
it
the
wasn't
end
and
of
it wasn't that
movies.
it looked bad, Brent. Because I saw you say
No.
that. I think it looked great. I
No,
know you
it
guys-
looked
you
fantastic.
You guys
just
did
like-
not watch it on a big screen, but the CGI itself looked
Like,
amazing. The
amazing.
Stuff was
And
great.
and going in, I did not think it looked.
I
good.
just didn't
thought
expect
the trailer shots. Some of the trailer shots looked but it was really
Uh,
good in the final
I was
product.
just like,
So is after the mid credits now the implication that the rings originate from something Eternals
I
related,
have
and that's
no
gonna be
idea. I have no idea what that.
That's
could
gonna
be.
tie into Eternals
only-
that
yeah,
way
there's
because
so many
they're supposed
ways
to be
that could
thousands
go.
of years
is-
old, right?
I'm thinking it's multiversal.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's so even based on
'Cause
like
that's what we're dealing with
other
right now.
films and shows we've already seen. There are so
Mhm.
many possibilities about how
Yeah.
they try to like. I feel like it's almost futile to speculate at this point. It could be
Yeah.
like a multiversal thing that
Yeah.
results from Loki and blowing stuff up.
Mhm.
It could be they're ancient and it has to do with the Eternals.
Yeah.
It could be like from
I'm
another.
gonna guess it's
planet,
multiversal
Captain
stuff because that's
Marvel.
what we're dealing with right
Yeah,
now.
it could, but there's so many
That's my
things
guess.
that
Right.
would
No, there
like
is.
even within the multiversal possibility. It's like, is this a new timeline that arose?
Yeah.
Is this like something that branched
So,
off in the ancient? There's so
one-
many ways.
But
that could
isn't
go.
even
One
like
thing
Captain Marvel like doesn't know what it is. So-
Yeah,
Yeah, she
but one
says it's
thing,
not
one
Chitauri.
thing I didn't even realize, and then I was talking to Levi about it last night, and like I suddenly realized Bruce is back to being Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when we last saw him, he was Hulk all the time, but had it
Yeah.
under control, right?
He was smart
like,
Hulk,
What
yeah.
happened?
he was like giving some nerdy speech in the diner as Hulk, right? Last
The
time we
whole
saw
thing,
him.
the whole arc was okay. Now we're
he's Professor Hulk.
2-1. But
Isn't
Yeah,
it more though
then
that he
he's back
he
at-
has more control over it rather than
No,
just like?
that's like that was the ultimate form. It was Hulk.
It's
form,
Professor
but with
Hulk, yeah.
Bruce's-
So you're thinking
Professor
that this
Hulk.
is a
Yeah.
mistake in the movie then?
It was,
that we
I don't
should-
think it was. I mean, it seems like a mistake. I mean, it doesn't. I know it's not a mistake, but like, it's weird that was the thing. It was very
Hmm.
like no explanation.
It's just that it's for, I think, for Johnny and for myself, it's more character development off screen for Bruce Banner and the Hulk, which is like all that he gets because of freaking Universal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he has to do these things off screen, and then like, oh, in this after credit scene, something happened. He's no longer.
Professor Hulk. Another thing
Mark
is
Ruffalo may also have a contract thing where like his face has to actually appear for him to like.
Oh,
get paid
I hadn't even thought of that, but that's
know.
actually the most logical thing.
And if they're
yet.
just doing a CGI, then they're just
that's
lending his voice and will get paid
possible.
Yeah, he's probably it's a weird thing.
I feel like that has not been talked about. Like that's a pretty big thing. I feel like.
You mean this might just be another multiversal thing? Like we are in a different universe right now.
It's odd. I mean, like he had the sling on from because his arm got screwed up.
Yeah, I'm with Brandon. I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was.
I don't think it was a mistake, but like it's weird that was just kind of like a thing. I don't know.
I hadn't even thought of that until you
would
brought
rather
it up.
that it just be.
And I'm very sure
Hulk.
there are no mistakes in the MCU.
No,
we don't know the answer.
Yeah. I said the same thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're talking about it. And I was like, oh shoot, wait. He's back to being Bruce.
Speaking of this post-credit scene though, because as I've vocalized, was like kind of off-put by the dragon fight. I was like, this looks great, but I'm like, this is a place I didn't expect. But then they take it back to them being in the bar, which I loved, and I love these characters. So I love them just I love the payoff of the bit of their friend thinks she's just yanking their chain.
Yeah.
She's like, what do you mean? There's no way you did this in the past 2 weeks. And then Wong shows up, and I just loved that. And I love the post credit scene. I love seeing Bruce Banner, Captain Marvel, and then the karaoke was like Benedict Wong doing that. Like that was great. I was like, I love that. And then the Xialing taking over the 10 rings, like because he tells she's bad. I mean, I think she's just a bad guy because the whole movie, her thing is, or rather Shang-Chi's is, I can't be like my dad. I don't want to be like my dad. You trained me to be a killer. I don't want that. This is what you made me to be, but I want to be something different. Whereas her, she's like, why can't I take over your empire? Why can't I be a part of it? And now once her dad is gone, she tried to create her own empire. Now she just took his. And so like she to me is definite anti-hero.
Levi was like, I think she's straight up bad guy again. I'm like, I don't know, man.
I think
this opens up the possibility again, without being too concrete, black and white heroes and villains. The fact that Marvel is like 24/7 serving us complexity these days. Obviously, there's this tenuous history between the two siblings because he promised to come back and he didn't.
He left her behind.
And then at the end, she's like, leave me, and he's like, let me go, and he's like, I'm not leaving you again. And they saved the day, but at the end of the day, he's, they had this traumatic childhood, both of them, and then he's living this very, very normie life, whereas she's obviously like had to be scrappy and like take care of herself, and she's become like the head of an empire in a sense already.
And you know what? That's who I think Sharon Carter was on the phone with.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. I literally was like, I bet Sharon was calling her because those two are so similar.
Exactly. I was like, it's the Marvel universe of anti-heroes. We got like Yelena and Val and John Walker.
Who have like been done
you gotta clip that.
Everybody's ears okay.
Was the first thought in my head. I was like, they're both like these women who have been done wrong by the men in their life who get all the credit and who have built a business empire themselves.
Exactly my thought. I was
right?
like,
no, I don't need to clip that. Lavelle already will.
Yeah, Lavelle's on top of it. But no, literally, I was like, that's who Sharon was calling. Like,
that's
it
what
all
I'm saying.
comes together.
Yeah, that.
But there's a way to. I mean, there's a way without being like she's just a villain. I think we can understand the complexity.
I think she'll be another gray character.
You know, it's funny that you said that because another thing that I really loved about this movie is that it justly so reminded me of the way like Miyazaki movies, for instance, have that. The bad guys aren't just bad guys. They have redeeming qualities. You can like parts of their character and disagree with like their motives or their like. But bad guys aren't just bad guys. There's definitely that like.
She was one of my favorite parts.
Conversation over and over again where like even Thanos thought he was like fixing climate change. Obviously, none of us agrees with him, but like even he thinks he's like working for the greater good.
Yeah.
And in this context, I really like. I actually. Of any of the characters in this film, like most identified with Xialing. I really was like, I see how she ended up in this position, and she's in this like very gritty sort of dirty business. She's running this like underground fight club in Macau when we meet her, and like dealing with all kinds of unsavory characters. And
she was
she's
so
in charge of her own domain. Yeah,
I thought
cool.
she was the coolest, man. On the big screen, watching her use her crazy whip knife thing. I always forget the name of that.
And
It's
yeah,
like
we've
the
seen
coolest
Jackie
thing.
Chan do that, but it was also in Mortal Kombat too. It's just a style
just a-
fighting. I don't know
it's
what
just
you
a
call that.
Cool thing, man.
Yeah,
Thing.
it was cool, and she's a great character. And I
Yeah,
mean,
I-
she'll be well set up as like the villain of the presumably Shang-Chi too.
Yeah.
But like again, it's not just like
that's
heroes
Oh,
and
the
villains.
what I
sound
was
design
thinking
too. I
about
want to
it.
mention the sound design. That
Sound
went
design
along
was
with that.
fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was saying I don't quite know if she's gonna be a straight up villain. Like I don't.
No.
I'm
yeah.
conflicted on that.
No,
I don't
In
know.
the
exactly.
same
Like-
way that Sharon Carter won't. be
Right,
a straight up
exactly.
villain.
Anti-hero
Yeah, I
or
guess.
someone
Yeah.
who needs to be redeemed. Again, Marvel is really
Mm.
digging into stories of
That's
like
fair, I guess.
people being redeemable and
Interesting
redemption
characters,
and
man.
why
Yeah.
people make the choices they
Mm.
do.
Yeah.
Scored
So,
during like the
yeah.
bus
And
fight.
it sets up an awesome future conflict again between brother and sister.
Between
like-
brother and sister
yeah.
who have to come back together at some point,
Yeah.
whatever that entails, but that they might have. It's very realistic in the scope of this fantastical story that those two would have different points of view on whether ends justify means or like what it takes to survive in the world. It's very believable to me within this context that those two would have a different outlook on how to get things done.
Mhm.
So I think that sets up
Mhm.
like perfectly a potential conflict for the next film.
I disagree, Brent. I think that Andy Serkis's Ulysses
I gotta- I
Claw
gotta
was
look
way
at
more
chat.
valuable than Razor Fist. I was so sad in Black Panther when he died because I love Andy Serkis and he was just
Oh, who doesn't?
he was
He's
he was
so good.
amazing in Black Panther. Razor Fist was more like a Bond villain, like Lavelle said. He's just a guy. He's got a razor fist. He's from the comics, He's got a car that says his name on it. He's just a little goofer.
I love
dude.
that that's like the randomest thing. Like, how stoned were the people who made that up? They're like, what if there's a guy who just has a razor
Razor
for a
fist.
fist and we'll call him Razor Fist?
Fist.
I
Whoa.
did not
Taser
like
face or whatever.
I did not
Razor
like
Face. It's the dumbest
Razor Fist
idea.
at all. Razor Fist. I wanted more of Death Dealer. And I was
Yeah,
mad about
Death
that.
Dealer sucked.
Death Dealer was such a letdown.
Death Dealer was a big letdown.
It's the guy with that white mask.
Oh.
They didn't even know his name.
No, that one encounter they had in the building with the helicopter and the like.
It was
I
cut
liked that-
short.
Yeah.
Literally.
That could have been, but I feel like because there's so much interspersed
He was such a cooler
fighting
character than
scenes, you're
Razor
in the
Fist.
moment. I'm not like, oh, this isn't enough fighting. Like you're getting
Yeah,
a feel
yeah,
of it
yeah.
as you go along.
Razor Fist
But I
first
agree,
appeared
they could have made him a lot more
1975.
like dangerous.
He was he's an old character.
Just putting that out there. Razor Fist is older than me by like twice. Razor Fist is from 1975 is when Razor Fist first appeared.
Even
so.
older than I am, so
Yeah.
it's really pushing
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, but they were talking about the score in chat. Yeah, the score like during the
Yeah.
bus fight, which for me is like that bus fight top
Wow.
10.
That was
MCU
amazing.
Like
fight.
move over Jackie Chan.
Unbelievable
Holy crap.
choreography. Like
So
I want
good.
to. It was just creative. The choreography wasn't just impressive; it was creative
The
choreography.
camera work in that scene
So
too
good.
was like I said, there was
No,
a
and they
synergy
nailed the
between-
editing
yeah.
too in
Oh, yeah.
in the fight scenes because
That was so well
Oh
done.
yeah,
A lot
the
of-
music
a lot
and the
of-
fighting was all just like it was like
Yeah.
a dance.
a lot of Marvel
Mhm.
movies have the like well, I mean, not so much now, but they had the quick cut fight scenes like you couldn't see anything. And then I feel like with this movie, it was really well edited. And well
Yeah,
shot.
you really understand that there are people actually doing. It's like what you said. It's not just they cut it because it's some stunt man and you
Yeah.
can't see it. And this was like, oh, it's actually people
Yeah, because
doing
Simu did
martial arts
did a
correctly.
ton.
Like, let me watch
It
this.
seems
Yeah.
he learned
You know?
martial arts.
Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah, he did.
Lavelle, a crush on Michelle Yeoh, and I'm not ashamed. Yeah, same. She's definitely a gorgeous.
She's a
woman.
queen. I mean, my
I was
God,
waiting
that
for-
movie
Also
is
a
the
Bond
most
girl, like a
amazing.
Bond girl.
Because
like, come on.
Tao Lo was like in a different dimension. It's like in space or whatever. I was waiting for
Dimension.
her. I was waiting for her to reference like I was once a Ravager, like in because she was in Guardians.
She was in
and I was-
Guardians. That
She was in
one little
Guardians, and I
part.
was like, maybe it's the same character. And she was like, just had when she was a teenager or whatever.
What?
She's in Guardians
Yeah.
too, when they have the funeral for Yondo at the end. The Ravager
she's-
ships come and they
she's
have a
one of-
She's
Ravager
one of the Ravager
funeral.
captains.
I
And
saw-
all the
I saw
Ravager
Michael Rooker
captains
from
are
afar
like
today.
little tiny cameos by famous people. She was one of them.
Yeah, she was a Ravager.
I saw Yondu today.
At Boston,
yeah.
yeah, we saw he was gonna be there.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Mike had like mentioned the other day, he's like, weren't you on a plane with Michael Rooker once? And I was like,
What?
I don't remember this. I feel like I'd remember because I love that guy.
Yeah.
And then my father just said the same thing to me. He said, oh yeah, I remember that. We saw him at I have no recollection of this, but apparently I was on a plane and standing next to Michael Rooker at a baggage claim.
That's
and
hilarious.
maybe somebody, I don't know, somebody even spoke to him, and I'm like, I have no recollection whatsoever, but
That's
I love
awesome.
that dude. He's so good. He's
Yeah.
just
Here's a story. Here's
consistently
a
so good.
here's
I
a
love
quick.
his character in Mallrats. If you guys
It's
have
so,
ever seen
it's
it.
so over the top. Even
we
in
have-
that movie, but he's so good.
Can we have a
Uh-huh.
quick aside, real quick, because they're talking
Of
about
course.
age in the chat. So we are talking about. So WB just
what?
released this thing with Christopher Lloyd as Rick from Rick and Morty.
Oh,
Oh
last
my
night.
goodness.
yeah.
And
it was-
Johnny goes, man, how old is Christopher Lloyd? Like 1,000? And I was like, and I,
Dude's been old
He-
since the
he-
80s.
He
Yeah.
was
Like-
younger than you
I
think.
know.
They
in
made
that
him look
know,
old
I
in
know,
Back to the
I
Future.
He was
yeah.
wearing
I
like
go,
a crazy
a wig. I know. And
white
I said,
in Back to the
"Hey!"
Future.
And I go, they made him look old. And Johnny's like, what? He wasn't old?
No,
Yeah,
he
when
was
Marty goes
not
back to
old.
1955, like that's how old
That's
Doc Brown
man's
is.
been
Yeah.
old
Lloyd,
since
He's
the
like
80s.
40.
It's like, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
he wasn't actually old, Johnny.
No.
It
But
was
he's
like,
like 80 now, right? He
yeah,
is
he's
old
80.
now.
He's 80
Yeah.
now.
He's
but
old
like,
now, but that movie came out in
It
1985.
came out
I
40 years ago.
know. And that's
And
why
I
I was
was
No,
like,
I had the same problem for like a decade where I was like, how is he
That's-
like old then,
that's
but
so
like
funny.
old now too? Like I don't
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brett saying he was about 35, which is probably
I know. And I
right.
was like, Johnny
yes.
was like,
he
Johnny
came
goes,
out of
he
the
goes,
he came out of the womb old.
Johnny goes, did you see his gray hair in Back to the Future? And I went, that wasn't real, man.
That's a wig.
I don't
That's
know,
like
man.
a
He was
skull cap.
Fester in the Adams Family, for God's sakes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just had to bring that.
Yeah, he
I
was.
thought that was so
Yeah, he
funny.
was.
I was like, movie magic, man. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Christopher
Yep.
Lloyd's
I
always been
saw
old.
an amazing production once at the Hollywood Bowl. They do this thing with they do this regularly with like classic films where they'll have the LA Philharmonic playing the score
Yeah,
of the
live.
film live. And with Back to the Future,
So Star
they
Wars
did
with the
this
Boston
screening
Pop
where they
or something.
included a couple deleted scenes, which included original music that had never made it into the film, and they
Mm.
played it.
That's
And there
cool.
was a DeLorean there, and Christopher
Oh.
Lloyd was there, and Leah
Oh.
Thompson, and
Oh.
the
Jeez.
director and the composer were there. It was an amazing event. It was so fun. We all got
Wow.
to go like hang out in
That's
the
amazing.
DeLorean. So much fun.
Wow.
Really good.
Did you get to meet him?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Wow.
Super nice.
Great. I bet. Yeah. Yeah. I just got back from Fan Expo Boston.
Yeah,
today.
Mike and I
Yeah.
were literally waffling all
Yeah,
day
I
yesterday.
know.
We spent all day like looking to each other for validation, like ultimately being
No,
like,
I only
"Ah."
stayed there for 3 hours, and I was uncomfortable because it was really busy. So I didn't want to stay for
Wait,
that long.
wait,
That
Brent,
was like
look at-
obviously
look what's
my
Brent-
personal biggest concern, but I think
Mhm.
for us also like we would have had to get off of the Cape. It's Labor Day
Yeah.
weekend, and
Mhm.
I was like, if we had been closer, we would have just been like, let's go check it out. But it seemed like a huge investment for.
Look at what
if
Brent's
we-
saying in the
Oh, yeah,
chat. I gotta
didn't
interject.
stay too
Yeah.
long. What? What did
I
he
gotta
say?
interject. I think
What?
Brent was there, Jenny.
Brent, were you there? Oh my gosh!
I think
Back to
Brent
the
was
Future?
there.
At the
Back to the
Hollywood
Future.
Bowl, you were at that. What?
Yeah.
He was. He said that.
Brent,
Yeah,
were you there for that Hollywood Bowl event?
yeah, that's what he says.
Amazing. God, like ships in the night, like synchronicity,
Nice.
man. I
Mhm.
love that.
Very
Isn't that
cool.
great?
It's hilarious.
I'll just flex. Today I met Katie Sackhoff.
Yes,
Amazing
I'm
person.
jelly. That was
And-
one of my
Yeah,
main
Kevin Conroy.
motivations.
That was Mike's like big thing. Was
Who's
like
voices
maybe I'll
Batman.
go get a picture with Katie Sackhoff.
So wait, did you just get her autograph?
No, it's kind of expensive, so I just wanted to say hi and stuff. She was very
Okay,
nice. She,
So
like,
you were able to just walk up to her and be like,
yeah,
hey.
hey, you can walk up. Yeah, she was very, very nice. And also, I met Kevin Conroy, who is obviously a god tier voice actor. So that was amazing.
The
Yeah,
Shang-Chi.
There were a lot of folks there at the
The
Fan
Shang-Chi.
Expo that I really like. I'm into the Arrowverse as well, and there were also
Yeah.
a bunch of like really
Yeah,
good
Tom
Arrow, including
Cavanaugh
John
was there.
Barrowman, who's like a sci-fi.
He goes every year
property,
though.
but
Oh my god,
I was kind of like, we were so close to going, and then just
Yeah.
decided, you
yeah.
know,
Tom
next year.
Cavanaugh. Tom Cavanaugh was there, and I saw him from afar. But I
Yeah,
didn't
Katie
yeah,
know.
so
Cassidy
wait,
was
how did
there.
the,
John
um,
Barrowman was there.
How did the HoloNet Marauder panel go?
Good. Yeah. Shout out
Yeah.
to them. Yeah. They
It
had
was
a
the
really-
same
yeah.
time as Brendan Fraser, right? So they probably had
Yeah.
a lot of people go
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, no, it was surprisingly good turnout. So we
So
were
what did
pretty-
they end
we were
up
pretty
doing?
pumped.
Just like taking questions from the audience and
Yeah, we
or-
did a little question stuff. They did like this like game where we were basically like creating a character, like a pilot. So they had like different attributes. So like the audience like voted. There's like 3 choices, and we voted to create this like the ultimate Star Wars pilot, and it ended up being like the same attributes as Babu Freak. We just literally created Babu, like same
Nice.
species.
People love Bob.
Hey!
Yeah, it was actually and then talking to them after, and they were like, "That's not what we expected." Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we literally just created Babu Freak.
So Shang-Chi,
Did they do like a live
I'm trying, guys.
stream
I'm trying to
from the
chat.
panel?
Yeah, they actually it's their podcast episode, so they'll post it on Tuesday. So
Oh, cool. Okay,
we'll
cool.
be able to see it.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it was
Cool, man. And did
Yeah.
you participate? Or are you going to be?
I was in the
podcast?
audience. So we talked a couple of times during it, but no, I was not like exactly in it.
Yeah.
But I was right
Cool,
behind
man.
the
Yeah,
camera.
We are
Yeah, it was cool.
we are going to try and go to Rhode Island Comic Con.
Rhode Island, Cobra Kai,
Yeah,
Mike.
we're gonna try
Yeah,
that.
the cast of
Weirdly
Cobra Kai.
enough, although like we're in Massachusetts, it's like significantly less stressful traveling to Providence from here than it
Yeah.
is getting to
Mhm.
Boston.
No,
off
I
of
can
the Cape.
imagine. Yeah.
So it just seems like
Yeah.
less.
It's
of a
only like an
huge
hour to
deal.
Providence for us, but it's like
Two
basically
hours
2 hours.
easily
Yeah,
with
to
the
Boston,
traffic
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Right.
it's so.
Hey, what
That's
do you guys
just gonna
think
be less of a big
Simu
deal.
Liu?
That's sorry. Yeah. that's
Simu
East
Liu
Coast-
is a
East Coast talk.
freaking stud.
Simu
Let's
is
just say it.
amazing. My
stud.
God.
And not
My
only is
God.
he a stud, but he is a stud. Let's
Yeah.
just
100%.
Yeah.
Hard agree.
Oh, I didn't
You
expect
know what,
such a
I
strong
actually
I don't know
really-
if everybody knows this, but like back in the day when he was absolutely nobody, like years and years ago, he had literally tweeted
Marvel, yeah.
at Marvel as like a non-blue check, absolute no one, had been like, how about an Asian superhero? Like, let's get that going, Marvel. And it's the most incredible payoff. It's like outrageous that something like that can still happen in the
Yeah.
world, but it's such a cool thing that
Well, no, and he tweeted
like-
specifically when they announced that they were developing Shang-Chi. He said, like, Marvel, like, hey,
Marvel?
hashtag
Hey, I'm
Shang-Chi,
here.
like, hi, I'm here. And then
yeah,
he
yeah.
You know what I really liked about I just liked how cool and like calm and collected he seemed. Like in that, like, even when like he was in a high stress situation, like I never doubted that he was going to be able to handle himself. And it wasn't in one of those like Mary Sue, like, oh, he can just defeat everybody that he fights situations. Like, because he did get punched a bunch of times, like, and he did, he had to like learn from his aunt, and he had to like take his licks from his father, and like it's
and his
not like
sister.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
He wasn't trying to fight her, but yeah.
But I just feel like he remained really cool the whole time, and I really like. I just felt that coolness.
But
about
I
him, where it was
agree,
very
but
like,
also
oh, he's
like
cool.
one of the things is that a lot of the sort of character development and emotional arc was reserved for the flashbacks in this movie. So much of the like present day was taken up by action sequences that like we didn't get a ton of like, and this is not a complaint necessarily, but just like a lot of the sort of hard-hitting emotional work was done in flashback rather than in the present day. And one of the things that I thought was an exception to that was like the moment in the bus scene when Aquafina kind of looks at him and is like, seriously, dude, who are you? And you could feel the weight of like, okay,
Awkwafina
there's this
was
whole
good.
story.
Mm.
She's very good. But
Yeah,
there was
she's
like
great.
a weight of the whole story that he carries. And I actually like really felt the weight of that moment that he has to sort of
So wait,
pretend and like figuring out.
she
how
may
to
actually have
influence
some like
her.
latent special abilities, right? Because that's what was implied by her like picking up
I
the
don't
bow
think
and
it was
arrow
a
so
plot.
quickly.
I think it was more just that they
just-
went
just
more to her
blind luck?
wasted. No, it was more like her wasted potential in life.
No,
She
but
is-
also
and she is
Wong-
talented.
Yeah,
Wong at
because
the
they
end
made
was
a
like
point of that.
specifically
Yeah,
said
no,
she
that's
was
fair.
important too.
That's fair. Yeah.
Wong
There
was
was
like,
so
oh, yeah,
there were
you
two
too.
things that the
She's a
friends in
sidekick.
San Francisco who were like, you have what did she went to Berkeley or something? She had some very
It's like a
impressive
degree, yeah.
Yeah.
degree, and they're like, why are you valets? And she's obviously very insecure about that. But then there was the woman in Talo as well who was like, you're never going to amount to anything, and like the fight to sort of disprove that, to be like, I can be
Well,
whatever
okay,
I want
okay.
to be, plays into that.
That may have been a translation error because she said that it was more of you're never going to amount to anything if you don't commit to one thing and try. Like she was trying to give her an
Okay.
inspiring speech. That woman was the good force, and the
That
guy.
may
It was
have
the
been
archer
the
teacher
French
guy that we had the
being-
Yeah,
problem.
and the
with.
archer
Yeah,
teacher guy.
that was so sad.
The archer teacher guy had the problem.
Rest in
But
Oh,
then
yeah, he
finally,
had his soul sucked out.
Rest
Yeah,
in
he did.
peace. Yeah,
but
jeez.
then was like, yes,
Death
you're
dealer.
good.
No,
No, the
what do you
woman,
call
the
it?
old woman was on her side and was like trying to motivate her.
It still
to-
makes sense. I feel like that still goes to the same point, which is that she
It
realized
does.
she herself, very shallowly below the surface, realizes that she hasn't lived up to her potential.
Oh,
So
Lavelle.
I'm
What
did
very
we
much
talk
like
about
Levi, that's
Abomination
like-
yet?
Yeah,
No.
no, I was gonna say, Johnny, there were a
It
couple
was a rigged
characters
fight,
in this
Lavelle.
movie where they
That's
like
what it
they never
was.
said Abomination's name. He was just
No,
a
that was
character
100%.
appeared.
No, they said Emil Blonsky. That's his name.
That's his
No, I
name
meant
in
like
the-
it
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
Abomination, but you never heard them say that name in the movie.
Mm.
Like so, like it still feels unintroduced in that way. Same with the guy with the arm.
Weirdest-
It was a
weirdest
machete. Did they say his
inclusion.
name?
Razor
at any point?
Fist.
Yeah, Razor Fist. I mean, it was
Oh.
in
Did
the
they
car.
actually say the term Razor Fist at any point though? Was
Yeah.
that like uttered out
Not
loud by
so.
someone?
Okay, if you see it on the
maybe
big
I just
screen,
thought it was like a
there was a
derogatory,
lot
like, they're
of
making fun of him.
No. So like
the car
It's,
that they
it's
drove.
the name. It's, so
literally
not
said
only is it say it on the side
Oh,
of the
that's
car.
right.
Oh,
He's
the
like,
key,
"That's my
the
car."
key had
Yeah,
the
the
tag
key,
that
yeah.
said
He had the
Razor
tag that
Fist
said
or,
Razor
The
Fist. The
tag,
license
yeah.
plate,
Fist or
the
something.
license plate said Razor Fist, and they kept zooming
Right.
in on it. And they
Wait,
kept
what
going
are like the
"That's my
black
car,"
wraiths
Razor
that suck
Fist.
your soul out in Harry Potter?
They're the in Harry
Death
Potter.
Dementors.
Oh, Death
the
Eaters.
Dementors, yeah.
Death
Dementors, yeah, there you
Dementors
go.
suck
Who's
your soul.
that?
So like,
Death
yeah,
Eaters
this
are
was
the humans.
that was very like reminiscent of Dementors at the end there, and also the bamboo forest was very reminiscent of the Triwizard Cup, with like the forest is like
Someone
closing in
earlier,
on them, and
someone earlier said if you.
so there
I
were a
don't
couple
remember.
of like Harry Potter.
I don't remember who it was, but someone earlier
moments.
said if you reframe this movie as Wenwu being like the main character,
Yeah.
I think it gives you a different perspective on him. And honestly, I think I might like it more.
because he
do it
never
right.
actually was. It didn't seem like he was power hungry or anything like that. It
Well, he
seemed like
used to
act-
be.
He
Yeah, he
actually
used to be
believed
that.
his
He
wife
used
was
to-
calling
Which
to
I
him.
kind of
though,
would
you
have
know?
wanted
Right, well,
to
no,
see.
that was he used to be, and then he
put it
fought
down. He
her,
met-
and then
yeah.
he gave up the organization and
the
the
only
Well,
ring
okay,
reason-
so I just
to
meant
raise
like
his
he's
family,
not
and
the
then when
bad
the
guy
wife
of the
was
movie.
killed,
is
That's
the
why
point.
I would have
rejoined.
liked to have seen him in something before this movie.
He was
that
just
would've been
likable though, you know. I just like he
Yeah.
was likable.
Well, because I think he was in a part of his life where he was fundamentally a good guy because he put
Right.
down the rings for like 20
Right.
years
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then only took them back up because he thought he was going to protect his family with them, and it was like this won't happen because
Right.
the reason his wife died was because of his past life. He had wronged so many people in the
Right.
past that it caught up to him, but he
Yeah.
viewed it as like, you know, eventually he started to blame Shang-Chi for it, like you didn't do anything,
Mhm.
but he blamed himself for, you know, if I never put down the rings, then this would never have happened. It's like
Mhm.
maybe true, but then you also would have never fallen in love and, you know, had the kids and been a nice guy. And so that's why it hits later when Shang-Chi's like, you know, you cared more about the rings than us. Like we needed you as a family, but he had this whole warped perspective of like, I want to protect my family. You need to, you know, that's why I made them killers. You know, like they say,
It
like that's
puts
when
it-
their training
puts his
started.
children in prison.
Yeah, like that's when their training started is after the mom died.
Right.
And so like the whole like warped is he thinks he's trying to do something good, but then, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So by the end, he's
I thought it was good. I really liked when
That's
I thought
something
Wenwu
that
was
didn't
good.
really
Yeah.
get explored, and I think it's to your point, Levi, about there could not that I would have preferred one or the other, but there could have been an entirely separate movie about
Yeah, no,
the history of Wenwu and
yeah,
the
I
10
wanted
rings.
I wanted to see him in
There's
something.
you know the idea not only that these are
before this.
mystical or cosmic in some way, they're emitting some signal as we learn at the end of the film with Bruce and Carol, but
Mhm.
that there's this thing about how, I mean, this was explored in What If this week actually, but the idea of how like power corrupts and
Mm.
how like the
Oh my God,
more
What
the
If
more
was so
power
good.
you take, the more you want, and you know the fact that this dude has lived like thousands of lifetimes, he's been alive for thousands of years, and he just becomes more and more and more power hungry. The idea of like how that tool of power, the rings themselves, have a corrosive effect on the person wearing them, or the way that power itself corrupts you, is something that could have been explored in a lot more detail, because we don't really know. Mike's
Well, I
saying
think-
he seemed like a sympathetic character, and I kind of agree, but I'm like, I feel like we could have explored more about like who that
I think
man
he sort of went
was and who he
through
became.
the arc of the dark Doctor Strange in those
Yeah.
first 900 1,000 years or whatever, because you see him, the movie opens with him in like medieval times just
Right.
absolutely beaten
I
ass
know.
conquering, and like the narration is like he had nothing left to conquer, like he had done it
Yeah.
all,
He
like
had
this
no
guy
more worlds to
this guy had killed
conquer.
so many people, like he love is what brought him out of that, and like it showed him that there was something else to life, even though this whole time he had the money, the power, like, and so that I felt like you're introduced to him as he was a bad guy, but now he's becoming a good guy, like he had the arc of
And he also like the process of giving Shang-Chi the rings, he was like willing them to him
yeah, I
in a
think
way,
he was
like
good
in a way
dude.
that like that wasn't that like the only way he could give them to him. Is
Yeah,
like,
they,
had to-
and
he
then
had
they
to
automatically
literally pass
like
them
went
down.
from when
That
Wu
moment was,
turns to
I will say though,
Shang-Chi's.
the fight was extremely unique and amazing, but the dialogue between them was very Return of the Jedi. Like in my head, like Shang-Chi, I could hear him saying, "I am a Jedi, like my father."
yeah, I
before
did
me."
get a very like I've been here
Yeah.
before.
And then when it was like, "Yes, I'll sacrifice myself for you, my son. I am good again," and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So Brent said What If
Well
this week was
spotted.
amazing, and I actually
If
really
was
want
really
to talk
good.
about it because apparently I
Yes,
haven't heard that
please.
Jenny just watched it. Apparently Jenny
I watched it
hated
last
this
night.
week.
I did not like this episode. I found it so unoriginal, and like every single
What? I know, like Jenny,
idea of like
let's hear
someone
this,
with
Jenny.
tiny
Whoa.
powers
Holy
undoes
shit.
things repeatedly for personal selfish reasons. I can literally think that, like we were just talking about the Arrowverse, I can think of 5 times in the Arrowverse alone 3 times just in Legends of Tomorrow that exact storyline has played out. I was like, that is the most unoriginal storyline I ever thought of. And
I'm kind of with Jenny on this.
So boring. I was literally, I was trying to focus, and then I was like, I'm gonna clean my room, I'm gonna do crossword puzzles. I was doing 5 other things during this episode.
Oh,
it was
Brent,
twice as long as it needed to be.
Before we dive into hot takes,
Interesting.
because I think I am more with Jenny on this one. But before we dive into hot takes,
Brent, Jenny, seriously? Come on.
Brent tweeted about his
I
reaction.
hated it. This
When
is
you
my
go
least
check
favorite
out-
Hated
episode.
it.
Go check out Age of
I
Grogu.
know,
Brent's
Johnny,
reactions.
I'm with you. Like,
How
that's
was
crazy.
the first episode wasn't original?
But
This
the
was my
thumbnail-
favorite episode.
That wasn't my favorite. Is still Black
I'm
Panther
trying
in
to get to
Space.
you,
That
Brett.
one
Yeah.
eclipsed
My
all the
favorite
others
episode
by
was this
so
one.
much. But this one, I was so bored. I was like, I've seen this in every
Bored?
single
my
sci-fi
God.
show and movie ever
Brent,
made.
I was trying, but Jenny
that
can't be
involves
stopped.
time travel has had some version of this story very specifically. Like, this was not an original thought, and I don't think it deepened our understanding of Doctor Strange at all.
No, Jenny,
Damn!
wait. What
So-
about the fact that he interacted with the Watcher and it was our first?
That was
like,
the only thing that interested
Okay,
me.
okay,
because
good.
that actually adds to our understanding of the MCU. Because my impression is that he's the only one who can do that.
Yeah.
Because he's Doctor Strange, because he's a Nexus being, because he's got interdimensional
Yeah.
powers. My impression is that, like, maybe somebody like Wanda would have that power as well. We'll see. But, like, so far, I think that, like, all the other characters we've seen, you know, the Guardians, Black Panther, Peggy, whoever, I don't think any of those people has the power to see him, perceive him, let alone interact with him. And like, we actually saw his physical form. It wasn't just the shadow. We saw this, like, very Jeffrey Wright looking cartoon, like, physically embodied. And my impression is that, like, only Doctor Strange can do that. And we did get an answer. This isn't just like a narrator foil. This is an actual character. And as you, like, anybody who watched our first 3 reactions to the first episodes has seen me comment on that every time. That's been something that really interested me. So I did get something out of that scene, but the rest of it, I was literally like, I need to find other things to do while I'm watching this.
Oh yeah,
it's
Shamir makes a good point. She says, we found out on one timeline there can be variants of characters. Which I guess we
Just
kind of
cool.
already knew
Yeah.
from Loki a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there were multiple Lokis,
Wow.
even though that was sort of like.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I know,
hold on.
right? That's-
Before it goes even farther, because that was a pop off if I've ever seen a pop off.
Yeah, did not like this episode.
I did not watch the episode until like Thursday, or it was like Wednesday night. It was later, and it was why I shout out Brent. It was a prelude. I saw thumbnail to Brent's reaction video. He tweeted about it, and I saw it. So go check it out. But the thumbnail is everyone reacting like really happy, and I was just depressed the entire
Yeah,
episode.
it was
I was
definitely depressing.
I almost commented. I try not to tweet, but I was this close to being like, what the hell did you see? Like, what were you reacting to? I watched the reaction. I know now, but it was like, what? Like, everyone, the reaction was like, it's like, there's no way.
Shamir is
reaction
pointing
face,
out that, like, the
reaction.
idea of
This is so
absolute
depressing.
points is a revolution in the MCU. I just don't think that's an exciting revolution, because once again, it is extremely common in, like, every single other time travel philosophy. It's like a very common thing to be like, there are fixed points in time. That's not a new idea.
This episode
at all.
is my third least favorite. It is not.
Yeah,
it
it's
is-
like
it is-
October
Bruh.
5th, 1955, and Back
It
to the
is
Future.
so my order.
The
Yeah,
red letter date.
exactly.
The red letter
or
date,
like
yeah.
anybody who's ever watched Doctor Who, John Barrowman's character is
The clock
because
always gets struck
he's
by
a fixed
lightning at the
point.
same
Like,
time.
it's a very common
It's a
idea.
story about a broken individual.
Go
And-
up,
and-
Johnny
but he's had
versus
so
Jenny.
many
Which is
opportunities
original
But it's been
writing.
told.
Like,
It's
why
been
is that
told.
remotely
To
more
save-
it's been-
interesting?
Save himself, and
It's been told a million times.
He lost himself.
Yeah, that's the story that's been told so many times.
Even
What-
the thing
what?
where, like,
Is that
he
argument?
No, but like
even
but then
the
he
thing
actually
where he
pays the price in the
physically
end,
And he
Jenny.
pays the
transformed.
price.
He pays
You
the
know,
price.
the thing where he, like, physically transformed and he became like the
It's
evil
a
Doctor
tragedy.
Strange, and then he
It's
became the
literally a
demon. I
Shakespearean
was like,
tragedy.
this is the
Thank you,
picture of
Johnny,
Dorian
thank you.
Gray.
She's
It's an
missing
Oscar
that.
Wilde character that, like,
I'm
they
with
Blown
Johnny.
away by this.
Yeah.
Blown away by this.
Yeah, Jenny, the fact that he actually pays the price in the
Have
end.
you
and
read
it's-
Slaughterhouse
it's-
5? So it goes.
So it goes.
Wow.
The fundamental idea to time.
I cannot believe this.
I know,
actually.
no, and I also thought that this was the most visually like stunning
Oh,
episode.
God,
so far,
yeah.
It was
too.
visually good.
They nailed
There
it.
was a- there was a
They
specific
utilized
effect.
Animation.
The second
Like
one,
Yeah.
episode 2.
So Johnny, I don't know if you noticed this or not.
Episode
Did you
2 is
notice
not-
the Kirby crackle?
Okay, Johnny, no one agrees with you there, okay? Johnny, no one
Episode-
agrees.
2
Everyone
is
loves
not
episode
great.
2. Everyone
Episode 2
loves.
was like far and away
Everybody
my
loves
favorite.
T'Challa
Like,
Star-Lord. So you can just
oh
go
my
to your
God.
corner.
I don't know how I feel about
Everyone
Liberace Collector though.
I
That was
love
the little-
Liberace Collector.
it was
He
an-
was
it was an
hilarious. I
eye-roll-
loved like
eye-rolling
17
episode.
different aspects of that episode.
Dude,
That was
and
my-
the
it for
split
me.
personality, the Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange fight. Like,
Yes.
come on.
I
man.
like.
on,
Okay.
right?
I like it.
But again, like not
It
really
was
a new
literally
trope or a new idea.
tragedy.
Other
It
things
was a
have done that.
tragedy. You're watching a man tear himself apart.
Yeah, it was
Jenny's
sad.
opinion
Right
is the
in front of your
tragedy right
eyes.
now.
It was good, but like I see it. Look, I'm not as bad. I'm not as down on this as Jenny. I just agree with her fundamentally
dude.
that it's an unoriginal concept.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm fully on
okay.
board with that.
I
do
mean,
not.
like,
I still enjoyed what I watched. It's my
I don't
third.
It
like-
was too drawn out. If it had been half the length, I could have
It
been
was
like
very long. It's the longest
unoriginal
episode yet.
concept. But the thing of
but
like,
there were a lot.
it took half of the episode even to get to the point of him like, all right, I'm gonna try to undo the timeline.
Yeah.
And then they had too many iterations of that. Like each one of them was not interesting enough in and of itself to justify that many of them for me. I felt like we could have
Can
just
you elaborate?
plotted
What
the
scene
main
you
points.
talking about?
Like when he keeps redoing the timeline over and over again to try
I
to
love
save her,
that.
and she
Oh, I
dies
love
every
that. That was
time.
such a
And
good-
I was
I
like,
love that.
okay, great. There were like twice as many of those scenes as there needed
Tragic.
to be for me.
Yeah,
I love
I agree
that.
Yeah,
with
Brett,
Brent. Like my
37-minute episode. It should have been
Long.
like much
I
much
love
shorter.
loved
that.
it.
I
I
love
loved
that.
it.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, Johnny, I mentioned the Kirby crackle, which is I don't know if you noticed this. When
What
Evil Strange was getting like energy around his fist, it had that
Yeah.
like black dots of like negative
Yeah.
space around
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is a very like classic comic book
Oh,
technique
oh, Kirby,
for
Jack
drawing
Kirby.
Kirby crackle.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know. Yes. I'm sorry.
So
Yes.
a lot of those
Yeah, yeah,
old comic book
100%.
images, it's not
So
just like,
cool.
you know, energy fists. It's also like, you know, cosmic rays and stuff. That classic like just
I
like,
thought you were
black
talking about like
dots.
Kirby from like Nintendo games.
No,
I
no,
was
no,
like,
yeah,
what?
the artist. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got it now. Yes.
Yeah.
100%
And
correct.
this is actually something we talked about back with Shang-Chi, where I was talking about like the artsy frames. What I feel like, what if right now, like
There's
the
way more
MCU
2D.
is comics, man. This is comics. Like, what if?
yeah.
I feel like I'm looking at a moving comic book, where it
Yeah,
looks like
I did
I'm
enjoy
And I was
watching
that
a
nervous.
comic
I
book.
was nervous for the fact that like they weren't going to utilize like the immense like such a cool world like Doctor Strange's world and the magic and everything like in animation because you can do obviously
were
like
way
way
there
more
was
you can do in
way
animation
more
than you can in like
2D
live action.
in this
I
episode.
guess.
There was the most
it was
2D
so good.
animation in this episode
It was
than
so good.
before. There was a
So
lot
good.
of like 2D like
The last
explosions
shot
and-
of this episode, come on.
Can we just talk about how he absorbed an evil
Bruh.
garden gnome too? Like,
Yeah.
what even
Yeah.
was that?
Yeah,
That was
Or gnome.
amazing.
he did that for years.
I know, like hundreds of years. It was really sad.
There was
Right.
the picture of Dorian Gray. It's
And
you know what I
compared it to in my
novella by
reaction? I was
Oscar
like, this
Wilde,
is like
the more sacrifices
all-powerful
he makes,
genie
like, the
versus
and
the
you
far.
uglier he
literally
becomes.
you literally saw him like just like lose himself visually too.
Harry!
Because as he was absorbing all these creatures, like he became them. Like it was
Yeah,
so
that's
cool,
why it was
visually
awesome when he
interesting.
actually got her in the
best
end. and she-
visuals in any what if
Yeah.
what if episode.
No,
And
two.
he had like
I
a-
still
that
go with
ghastly
2.
appearance.
I
That
go with
scene in the
2.
collector
No
way!
place
There's
with
no
the things moving.
Yeah,
way.
four,
Dude.
four, three,
The
two, one.
magic-
Oh, sorry, 4,
The
2, 3,
magic
1 is
in
probably
the
my
magic animation
order.
in this episode was top
I go
tier.
2,
So
3,
good.
2, 3, 4, 1 is my order.
There's
Oh, okay.
no way.
I still liked
yeah,
it.
I'm gonna agree with
I'm-
Levi on that. Actually, I'm right with you on all. I just had to like think back. on that. I
Best
was like,
animation
yeah,
in the
I
show
agree.
so far is that episode,
Yeah, 2, 3, 4, 1 is my
and
my-
the most creative visually.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So many cool frames, man. So many
So
cool frames.
many wallpapers.
It was depressing. I almost cried. It moved
Yeah,
me.
I did
It
too.
got to me. I am
Okay.
just fully with
Black,
Jenny.
The Black Panther episode
Yeah.
did not move me. I
You
I
rolled
guys
was
my
like
eyes a lot.
academically with me, but enjoyed it.
Yeah, no,
more
I
than
enjoyed it a
did.
great deal.
Yeah.
I just thought that yes, I'm 100%
I enjoy
with
these
Jenny.
spirited disagreements.
Yeah.
I just agree with
Yeah.
Jenny that it is
I
fundamentally.
mean, this is
Uninteresting
this might
thematically.
just be that like I'm less connected to the animated content. I have absolutely been like emotionally moved
Okay.
by animated films before. I have a lot more trouble with that. I have trouble
Like
having
Johnny.
like a heart
what?
connection with like a picture.
Johnny Mike.
But this
Remember-
wasn't. But it has happened. Like I can think of animated films where I've cried, and
Mhm.
this was not doing it for me. I could not have cared
remember
less
the
about this whole
animated.
thing.
It felt a lot like to me. Remember the arc of the Clone Wars, the Mortis arc, where Anakin sees the future and he sees that he's going to become Darth Vader, and he becomes
Yes.
bad anyway, and
Yeah.
he's still bad.
Where they're down in the lava pit.
And like
area.
that's one of those the absolute points in the Star Wars timeline is Anakin is just he's gonna be bad because he has
Yeah.
this and like to me, like those kinds of stories, like, they're not-
foreseen it.
like that stuff is not
Completely
necessarily.
baffled by these opinions.
I
but
just don't think
that's
it's
okay.
unique. I just can't. I cannot
yeah,
stand.
that's
I
it,
can't
and
stand against Jenny that it isn't unique. I
I
can't do that.
thought
in Good
it was
conscience.
so unique. So
I
don't
also
know
have,
what
you know, it's
y'all
like this idea.
talking
His
about.
problem isn't extraordinary. Of course, it's sad, like when he loses his love, but this idea of like that happens to lots of people with no superpowers every day. And
I
they
know
have
it's a
to-
tragedy, Johnny. I
they-
loved
of
it.
course
I liked
it is,
the
but it's not
episode.
more extraordinary
yeah,
than like
I
normal
just can't
humans'
fundamentally-
tragedies. And he uses
Yeah.
his power for a
Mike, can
selfish
you believe
reason
this right
to
now?
change something like for
I'm
himself only.
speechless.
I liked
I'm-
it too. I liked it too. I just academically,
yeah,
I
no,
can't
not my
disagree with
fave.
Jenny. I can't
Wow.
disagree with her because I
Man.
think she's right.
I think this nailed like
Well, that's funny. I mean, it's good. You know what? This is good because I mean, it's not necessarily polarizing, but it's definitely the fact that like you can love episode 2 and Johnny doesn't really love it, but then we all love episode 4, but Jenny doesn't. Like,
Right.
it
I
has
feel
a
like
variety
we've
of
Yeah, man, I
disagreed.
guess
Johnny
interpretations
has
to
been on
it.
the opposite
You ever seen
side
a film
from us
called
a lot
Looper?
of times with this one. What film?
Looper as making a time.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, even
Yes.
Jenny with Benedict Cumberbatch and
Rachel McAdams.
and Tilda Swinton and
Oh,
all
Tilda-
these.
yeah.
I mean, like these. I feel like the voice acting has been on point.
dude.
The voice acting
Best
was
voice
good in this
acting.
episode. I didn't love
Benedict
the voice
Cumberbatch
acting
is
as
great.
much
I feel like he's
in
great.
either 1 or 3. 2 and 4 had better voice acting for me.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I was almost
the
offended
best,
by
best
how
voice
unoriginal
cast, best
it
voice
was.
cast in this episode.
Yeah. And Wong is definitely becoming more of a now
Yeah,
after Shang-Chi.
consistently, Wong is
and
becoming more of a presence. There's
Somebody, I forget who it was earlier in the chat, said Wong doesn't get enough cred. He doesn't get enough love. So I think he's going to be.
I think he's about to. The fact
Yeah.
that he appeared as such a central figure in both this and Shang-Chi, and we know that Doctor Strange 2 is coming out, I think
Yeah.
he's being set up in advance to have a larger presence in the live action films, probably because they've realized everybody likes him.
Yeah.
Someone
and that it's to their
tweeted-
benefit to feature him more.
Someone made a tweet that like Wong now has appeared more time, or Benedict Wong has appeared
Yeah.
as Wong now more
Mhm.
times than any of the DCU actors as
That's
their own
right.
characters.
That's right.
And I was like, that's funny.
Interesting.
I was like, that's funny.
Wow. We don't need to go there.
Wow.
So wait. So just a quick recap before we wrap up the stream. Like in terms of this movie, like let's say, do you think this is going to be your favorite Marvel movie of the year, or do you
Oh
think-
No.
yeah, I have a good question.
That's
yeah,
too hard. How do we
I-
say
This
that
is between
preemptively?
Black Widow, Shang-Chi,
No, no,
and
yeah, I have a-
Eternals.
I
Oh,
have a
so
basically.
far, yeah.
So far, sure, but there's like a
Yeah.
lot happening soon.
We got,
So I'm
we got
just saying-
three. We got 3 left.
I have a good
Yeah.
final question. I have a
Wait.
good
Oh
final
yeah, it's
question.
Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Plus,
or No Way
Spider-Man
Home
is
is
going to
gonna
freak
be
us all so
Venom-
far on the
Venom
way
2.
out. Like,
Venom 2.
Venom
okay.
2,
know.
everyone's
Venom
favorite.
2.
I
I
don't
made the
think Venom
joke-
2 is going to be my favorite.
No, I made the
Spider-Man
joke.
might be.
I made the joke in our reaction that my least favorite part of the movie was the Venom 2 trailer that played.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It was my first time seeing it. I had avoided watching
You
it.
hadn't seen the trailer yet?
I hadn't seen the Let There Be Carnage trailer, and oh my
No.
god, I was like,
First time, and it was.
Wow.
it's making
That's
me cough.
not going to be anybody's favorite. And I know that, like,
Nope.
we've talked about this before. Johnny did not love the first movie. And I
Neither
don't
did
think
I.
the first one was anyone's favorite either, but I enjoyed
Johnny's
it.
favorite is Spider-Man, and we haven't seen it
Right.
yet. so.
Like, I think that's probably going to be all of our favorites. That's just going to blow so
I
much
feel like
shit
it's
up.
like, yeah, I don't know, man.
No, but a good,
Uh,
a
Never
good,
say.
a good cap on Shang-Chi though is how does it rank for you? How does it match up against other MCU origin films?
I was
for
thinking
me,
about this.
and for me,
Yeah.
this is like a first Avenger for me. I love that movie. I
Yeah.
think, but
Yeah.
I think
Brent
this
made a
movie-
comment about how this movie felt
Shang-Chi are
fresh
on par.
for a Marvel movie, and it's
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
like exactly what we needed right now.
Very
like,
different movies,
to
mind
keep
you.
to
Yeah.
keep Marvel fresh after we've had consistent Marvel content all year, and it's all been fresh, but at the same time, like this definitely kept things feeling new.
I
Mhm.
Which is
agree.
good,
I agree.
yeah.
Somebody said, I think it was Brent maybe, but somebody way up at the top of the chat had said that this hardly even felt like a Marvel movie, or that in ways it felt something different.
I don't agree
And
with that.
I don't
but-
know. I don't know if I would
it
go
felt like
that
a Marvel
far.
movie.
It had Marvel humor.
This had
Yeah, it had
Marvel
strong
humor.
Marvel
This had
humor.
a lot of hallmarks of Marvel, but it really was something fresh, and it did take things in a new direction.
The kaiju fight was not Marvel. I'll tell you
It
that.
was very authentic to its source material.
Did they
but
give
at
the
the
names
same
of either
time
of
was
those
a Marvel
dragons
movie.
at the end?
The Great
No.
Protector
It's the
was
Great
Did we talk
Protector-
about? Did we talk about
Dragon
the Soul
Awkwafina?
Eater.
What
the
did we
Dweller
think
in Darkness was the
Yeah, I
other
don't know
one.
if they
The
had,
Soul,
like,
the Soul
actual-
Eater. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did we think of Awkwafina?
We liked Katie.
I
We
thought she
said
was
that.
good in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Good character. And
Yeah,
like
it
I
was a
said,
good
they've
character.
obviously set her up to be like an archer of some, skill.
Yeah, I
beyond
don't know
normal
who.
at this
Yeah,
point.
she's gonna
she might have a
continue her
comic-
training
She
and
might
get
have a
better
comic.
now.
Comic.
I don't think they would specifically have
counterpart?
Wong like pick her out and be like, "Oh yeah, you too." Like, so he's heard about her and knows about her, and
Right.
Yeah,
she's significant
she's been
other than just
squandering
being
her potential
his
as
friend.
a valet, and now
Yeah.
she's gonna go like continue her training and improve her skills, and then she could come back as a legitimate like.
Force to be reckoned with,
She's
yeah.
not a superhero, but she's going to be one of those like Hawkeye, Black Widow
Yes.
type figures
Yes.
who just have like
Yeah.
exceptional technical skills or weaponry skills coming back. I'm imagining.
Yeah. And she's obviously going to be an ongoing character in Shang-Chi universe as it has now been established.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I thought she did a very good job with that character.
I also
because
loved
she
how they
did
managed-
She did
I'm sorry,
have
Jenny.
like very human moments as well. She had some really grounded moments where you felt like what that character's going through. I
Yeah.
thought she did a good job. in
I
this
loved
film.
in the same way in Rogue One between Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso, like they never forced a like love bond beyond
Yeah.
just sort of like there was
Yeah.
not a same dynamic, but
Did
like
you
the
think
same
they
like
were going
you
to
never
going
felt
to
like
force
they
it?
had to be romantic with each other, even
At
though
a
they were,
certain point?
what?
Yeah.
Do you think
Did
that they
feel like
might
that- Did you
eventually?
feel like they might have done that?
I thought
in
I
this
felt
film.
I felt it was
Yeah.
implied at the end.
Yeah, it was implied that they were like, I don't know. I liked that
I
I
think
didn't
they're
feel
still
pressure
friends,
to like
but-
wonder about that.
I
though.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
with
It
you
was just like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's a good
okay,
way
they're
of
best
Yeah.
friends, and that's good enough for me.
That's
like,
a good way of putting
I
it.
think
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think if we
Yeah.
were wondering it at all, if any of us was
And I felt the
wondering
same
about
way
it,
in
it's
Rogue
partly
One,
a
where it was
result of
like-
the fact that like
Mhm.
we've been conditioned to expect that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
films. Like
Yeah.
we're told that you have to have
Where you're
that.
like, it would be so easy for them to have
it
them
would be
hook up
very
right now,
easy,
but
and it would be in the trope of like
Yeah.
every other movie made
Yeah.
ever. But I agree with
I
Mike
agree.
that it was nice that that didn't feel shoehorned in. Like it might be, it might not be. It's not the important point here.
yeah.
The friendship and sort
But
of.
it also, like, in the same way,
mission
like, they
are
could
more
keep it like
important.
that. They could just keep it so that they're best friends and that there's never a, like, need for either of them to be, like, romantically involved with anybody just because it's, like, that's okay to be that way. It's okay to, like,
Right.
just
And
be...
she's becoming a true badass in her own right, you know?
Yeah.
Again, like we had like Black Widow and Hawkeye as best friends who were in like very intimate situations in terms of like trusting each other implicitly and putting their lives on the line for each other. But he's like married and has his family, and it was never a thing between the two of them. Similarly, I appreciated that, you know, but I think they're really setting her up to be a badass in her own right.
Mhm.
And the fact that he is like a snack, if they feel like they want to give him someone to kiss in the next movie, they could potentially introduce
a
a new
snack.
love interest, you know,
Yeah.
and let Aquafina have her own story, let Katie have her own arc, becoming a hero, you
Mhm.
know.
Katie on Disney Plus coming 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. A spin-off series. Oh my god.
Right.
It'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it worked for me. All right, guys. Thanks for coming on. We're going to wrap the stream up.
Do you mind if I plug? We just
Yeah, do-
posted
yeah, please.
our
do it.
we just posted our Shang-Chi review. If you guys want to do it, was Levi and I are talking about it, kind of going over non-spoiler and then spoiler thoughts. So we just posted that a minute ago. So if you guys want to check that out, please do. Thank you for having us on. That's
All
I
New
can
Nerds,
say.
guys. Go over to All
Yeah,
New
go
Nerds.
check them out.
For those of you who haven't been over there yet, these guys
Oh.
are the best. Yeah, and Johnny just got off the floor at Boston Fan Expo and got
Yeah.
to meet Katie Sackhoff today.
I did.
and
She's
Michael
amazing, amazing
So-
individual. She was very nice.
That's
Very,
awesome,
very
dude.
nice.
You can tell. I mean, like, I follow her on social
Yeah.
media, and she's
She's
a
really
real
cool.
like genuine person.
yeah, for sure.
It just
Yeah.
seems like
Yeah.
even if she wasn't a movie star.
Yeah,
you'd be
actually,
like,
Ron
cool chick.
Perlman had like Ron Perlman was there too, and he like
oh yeah,
freaked out on somebody
That
in the
dude's
hall.
so
It was
good.
really? Oh,
He
my
freaked
God,
out
Ron
on
Perlman is-
someone?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I
He's
guess
a
some,
large
I guess,
man
I guess,
too.
I guess
He
somebody
is a
was
big
on.
dude.
I mean, to be fair, it was justified, but someone was unvaccinated, and he like they went up to him and like he like got really mad.
you're like, dude, that's
Yeah, he was- he
Ron
was loud.
Perlman
I
is
just like
scary,
him
talking
even
like
more
Hellboy,
now.
though.
I mean, come
I know.
on. That's
I know.
kind of
Dude, do not
admirable.
F with Ron
Apparently,
Perlman.
Thank you,
apparently the
Shamir,
guy
for
was
subscribing.
unvaccinated. I don't know.
Thank you. I just watched
Yes.
Shamir Jones to subscribe.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Johnny,
He's a
Levi,
very
All New
talented
Nerds, thank
dude.
you for coming on, guys. Jenny, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
Looking forward to
Godspeed,
next week.
Spider-Man.
I hope next week after What If we can all agree we're not going to be
What
on
is this week?
different pages. You know,
Do we
I-
know? Yeah, do we know what's happening?
they've been pretty good at not really revealing it until kind of the day before,
Yeah.
like what. So I think
Um,
it's. We do know that there's going to be
I don't know, to be honest.
It
Iron
could
Man
be
and
Thanos Gamora. It
That
We'd
might
love
be
to
it.
see that because
Might
I
be it.
honestly felt that the Gamora was missing from episode 2. Like, so
She has her own
my
episode.
inkling
Well,
was
in
that they
this
would. Yeah, there you go.
timeline, like in that timeline, he wouldn't have destroyed.
No,
her
I know. I just meant
planet
like
and
at
adopted
they had a
her.
lot of Guardians of the Galaxy characters there, but they didn't have Gamora.
Yeah,
I forgot Thanos.
Or
was on the
Rocket
Ra-
and
the
Groot,
Thanos
so-
was on the Ravagers.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I mean,
Johnny,
they even had
Johnny
drops,
just
you
the
know.
hate train on episode 2.
Come on,
That's
man.
so funny.
It's like, come
It was
on, man.
great.
I
I can't take
love that.
Thanos seriously. Come on, man. Come
Oh,
on
it
now.
might be. I might be Killmonger this week. It might be
Oh,
Killmonger.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, that too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I'm
So
looking
we
forward
have-
to all
we don't
these
actually
scenarios.
know though what it's going to be. They
Yeah.
haven't
there's-
said what this
I
episode's
think there's a
gonna be.
list somewhere, but
There's
whatever.
something with
Anyways.
Thor. There's
Party Thor. That's what they're. Whatever.
Yeah.
Johnny's like, I just want
Johnny's
zombies,
like, I
man.
haven't even
Which-
seen it and I hate it.
Which, by the way, I have a feeling that's
Party
that's
Thor?
gonna creep up on us.
Yeah,
Thor 4
Shamir's
is gonna
mentioning
be...
Chadwick recorded. Shamir, it's confirmed that he's coming in episodes 5, 8, and 9, but that they're
Oh.
cameos. Like he was the main
He's
character
gonna be
in
next
2.
week then.
And he's gonna so he's gonna have like
Oh.
a cameo appearance.
I don't think
Oh,
it'll
so it's
be.
probably
It
the
won't.
Gamora one.
It
Then.
And
won't
then
be
twice
Star Lord
more.
though. It'll
It's
be
probably
Yeah,
normal
it's
Gamora.
not
T'Challa.
necessarily
Gamora
gonna be
then.
him as Star Lord. It's just him in other timelines.
It might
Yeah.
be Killmonger then.
There's
You might-
one.
Right.
There's one that it's like, what if the Avengers didn't break up during Civil War?
Oh yeah.
All
Okay.
assembled during Infinity War. I think that's one of them. I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. And I know he's in that, so
That sounds cool.
yeah. It's
Hey, what if it's pretty cool, guys? Pretty cool concept. It's fun.
awesome.
Do you think we might? You know what? I don't think it will. It'll be mainstream.
See, that's
Marvel
the difference,
characters.
Johnny.
We won't
That's
get
the
any new
difference.
ones, will we?
The three of us all like What If. You just don't like What If.
I like
actually,
it.
I'm not that committed to it. I'm not
Just
that
kidding.
into
Two of
it,
us like
but,
What If.
like,
I like the Doctor Strange. I think it's.
But I'm with
it's
you. I
4,
think I'm
it's
more
4,
with
3,
the
2,
2 of
1.
you
It's
on
gone
which
better and
episodes
better.
I've liked. I could definitely do without the show. I'm not like passionate about it, but
End
there
the
have been
stream.
moments that
You're
Yeah,
I've
passionate
found
about the
Yeah,
Doctor
alright.
Strange episode, though. Just
there are
saying.
moments that
This
I'm
is
really
devolving.
enjoyable. So
All right,
No.
guys. Thank you for being here, guys. Go over to All the Nerds, subscribe, give them your love. Thanks for doing it, Shamir,
Thank you. Thank you.
Lavelle,
Bye,
Brent,
everybody.
Shamir, everybody in the chat. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Peace
Spider-Man.
out.
Spider-Man.
guys, we love you.
Spider-Man.